the way I look at it, Karan, is that this whole exercise, the purpose of this exercise, if it was purification of electoral votes, nobody can question the purpose. But I think it was abrupt and it was aggressive and it was ambitious. And to the best of my understanding, I think at this point in time, it was avoidable.
It was?
Avoidable.
Okay, that's very clear. The special intensive revision is abrupt, aggressive, ambition, and avoidable.
At this point in time.
Absolutely, at this point of time. Avoidable being the critical adjective. Do you agree that it was wrong to hold an SIR just 4 months before the Bihar elections? If they needed to hold it, they should have done it a year or two in advance.
It is unfair. It is unfair to the people. I think it is even unfair to the machinery which is being asked to undertake this task. Even if everybody had all the documents, the question is whether this procedure was required or not. How can you say that people who have voted for 5 elections, general elections, or who might have voted even more than once in any election, the fact that you had given him an epic earlier, and now you are saying that you have to produce documents at the risk of losing your vote. So the point is that, is this fair to that person?
And you're saying it's not?
It's not. It's clearly not fair.
Hello and welcome to a special interview for The Wire. The controversy surrounding the special intensive revision of the electoral rolls in Bihar seems to grow almost every single day. The questions being asked are both important and disturbing. Is the revision really intended to remove the names of voters who are dead or have moved and to eliminate duplicate names, or is it a surreptitious way of checking into the citizenship of voters? Why has the Election Commission so far not agreed to the Supreme Court's suggestion to accept Aadhaar, voter and ration cards? And why does it require parental proof when apparently it's never asked for this earlier? Those are some of the issues I shall raise today with former Election Commissioner and former Finance Secretary Ashok Lavasa. Mr. Lavasa, let me start with a widespread concern about the special intensive revision of the electoral rolls presently underway in Bihar. Is it primarily intended to remove the names of voters who are dead or have moved and to eliminate duplicate names, or is it a surreptitious way of checking into the citizenship of voters?
First of all, thank you very much, Karan, for hosting me on your show. Coming directly to the question that you asked, see, revision of electoral roll is a legitimate exercise. It's a normal exercise which Election Commission undertakes. As far as this special revision, intensive revision is concerned, if you go by what the Election Commission has stated as its objectives, they have stated there are 3 objectives. A, to include all eligible voters, exclude ineligible voters, and to have a system of transparency by which they can upload the documents that certify the validity. So these are the stated objectives of the Election Commission. Now, whether there is any other intention behind this, difficult for me to say, but certainly I would say that the dimension of citizenship that has been attached, I think that raises a lot of concern and apprehension. This is something that has not been done in the past. If you look at the past precedents, and I'm sure you know and your viewers would know that there are different kinds of revisions that are possible according to the law. Equally, there is a method by which people get enrolled as electors in the electoral roll. So in the ongoing process, now you have a system where anybody can apply at any point in time and he'll be enrolled. The second is the annual revision, and the third is the summary revision, which Election Commission undertakes generally in cases wherever elections are due, as they are in the case of Bihar. Fourthly, there is an intensive revision also, which is possible for Election Commission to undertake, but that is done in areas where there are specific inputs that are received. So, in this special intensive revision, which is a nomenclature that is being used probably for the first time, the normal process which has been outlined by the Election Commission is different as far as on two counts. One, there is a division between the voters that were enrolled up to 2003 and those which are enrolled after 2003. So this distinction, I think, has created a difficulty. And the second dimension is that Election Commission, in its order of 24th June, they have said that all those that were enrolled before 2003, there is a probative evidence of eligibility and a presumption of citizenship. So I think that is probably a very contentious issue.
Let me come to the principal reasons why there is enormous concern over the citizenship issue. It's because those who've been enrolled since 2003 are being asked for documents to provide proof of censorship. This places the burden of proof of censorship on voters rather than the state. That is the opposite of the traditional Indian practice. More importantly, the Indian Express points out this has not been the practice of the Commission in the past. And thirdly, identifying foreigners is the job of the Home Ministry, not the Election Commission. On all three counts, there is enormous concern, which is why I ask, is this a surreptitious way of checking into the citizenship of voters?
Well, that could be the outcome eventually if they follow the citizenship principle in very meticulously. But there is a dilemma, Karan, and that is what I think we need to understand. That Election Commission says that we have to go by Article 326. Now, Article 326 has been in existence since the day the Constitution was adopted, and that says that the Indian citizens are eligible to vote provided they are 18 years old and they are not otherwise disqualified. So the point is that so far in the last 74 years, Election Commission has adhered to the principle of Article 326 and yet enrolled the voters. The
Can I
difficult
interrupt? Because this is a very important point you're making, and it is contested in a sense by the Guwahati High Court in 1993, a judgment that was upheld thereafter by the Supreme Court. It's very simple. The Election Commission has a right to delete names from the rolls if they are found to be foreigners. It doesn't have the right to question adult Indians about their citizenship before it enrolls them. This is what the Guwahati High Court said. Rules do not contemplate any inquiry into the question of citizenship at the stage of preparation of draft rolls. But that is precisely what the Election Commission is doing in Bihar, and it is a complete contradiction of the Guwahati High Court upheld by the Supreme Court.
You are so right, Karan, and that is why a lot of people have demanded. I have myself said that Election Commission should put out its order of the previous special intensive revision or intensive revision that it carried out in 2003 and inform the people of this country whether the procedure they followed that time and this time are the same or they are different. If they are different, why are they different? So I think that is an explanation that Election Commission owes. And you're
But
right.
it's worse, Mr. Lavasa. Let me quote what the Election Commission has said of itself in its annual report of 1983. This has been the Election Commission's maintained position. This is what it says. The question of illegal migrants is not the concern of the Election Commission or any authorities working under its superintendent's control and direction. And then, more importantly, the Election Commission adds it would be inappropriate and without jurisdiction to issue any instructions to delete the names of illegal immigrants whose names have already been included in successive electoral rolls. That is the election's position of the Election Commission since 1983, it's now blatantly contradicting it in Bihar.
So you are going back to 1983. Let's come back to Assam. And in Assam, this is precisely the problem that arose even before the NRC was created. When last time the Election Commission prepared the electoral rolls, they introduced a concept of D voters. And that is doubtful voters, those whose citizenship was in question. So the immediate fallout of that was that those who were put in the D list, they were not eligible for voting. But at the same time, to this day, after so many years, we don't know what is the fate of those citizens. Whether they have
Absolutely.
been.
And a great injustice was done to them by the Election Commission by adding the letter D to their name.
That's right. The procedure that was introduced, I think that was discriminatory, and it has resulted in so many people being in limbo for all these years. So we don't know whether their citizenship status has been restored or whether they continue to languish in the various tribunals. I'm sure
Nor do we know on what basis their citizenship status was considered doubtful. That was never explained.
Well, at that time, I think there were documents that were provided which must have raised doubts in the mind of the ERO or whoever was the competent authority. But the point that I'm making is that if you get into this territory, you run the risk of creating a list of people or a class of people who are neither here nor there. And they do lose their right of voting, which is a constitutional right. But let me come to another point.
But you're making a very important point, Mr. Lavasa, and I want to underline it for the audience. This is murky, contentious territory. The Election Commission very wisely in the past, and I quoted what they said in 1983, deliberately avoided trespassing into this murky, contentious territory. Yet in 2025, it's chosen to do so willfully. And let me quote the Indian Express. Because the Indian Express, writing on the 10th, exactly a week ago, believes this has never been done before by the Commission. It says, a scrutiny of the methodology adopted in the past such exercises shows that never before has the Commission required existing electors to furnish documentary proof to remain on the electoral roll. Now, people who've been on the roll since 2003 are being asked for documentary proof or they'll be struck off.
Exactly. So, Karan, the paradox is, as I said in the beginning, that we live in a system where there is no single document issued by the government to an Indian citizen to say that, okay, you can show this and demonstrate that you are a certified legal citizen of India. Now, in the absence of that, and under the Citizenship Act, there are various provisions in which people can claim citizenship, right? And those who claim citizenship by registration or descent or any other methodology, they do get a certificate that they are citizens. But what about the crores of people who are born in India and they don't get
Absolutely.
it, right? So I think Election Commission from the beginning, and let's go back in
But then you're making a very good point. Is the Election Commission being unwise? Is it being contentious in now asking people to provide proof of citizenship, particularly people who've been enrolled since 2003? There is no document, as you say, given by the government of India that establishes you're a citizen of India. You derive this from other documents, many of which may not be in the possession of people. So if the Election Commission is clearly not acting wisely when it does this.
In fact, if you look at it carefully, probably the only document that we can produce to show that we are citizens is the Indian passport.
Which
Because
many people don't have.
right, which people don't have. No, so reverse the logic. So among all the documents that are provided by the government, this is one document by which you can say that, yes, if I were not a citizen, I may not have got this passport. The other thing is that by inference, because Article 326 confers the right of vote only on Indian citizen, the moment you get your name enrolled in the electoral roll, and the moment you have a voter's card or EPIC or whatever you call it, you can say that I wouldn't have got it if I were not an Indian citizen.
But that logic is not being followed by the Election Commission.
That is why all the controversy.
But then would you accept the Election Commission is acting unwisely?
I think that people in the Election Commission don't lack wisdom. They might be ambitious and they might have thought that this is one way of cleaning up the roles. But can it work? Is it practicable? Does it follow the past precedents?
What's your answer to those questions?
My answer to your question is,
Now, to your question, can it work? Is it practicable? What's your answer to that question? You asked the question.
clearly it is not working.
It is not working.
Because I don't see a reason why there should be a departure from a time-tested process, which has been invoked for a long time. It has been hailed by people. This is a system by which, from the beginning, and let me just go back and take.
No, finish your answer. You don't believe there is any good reason to change a time-tested system.
Precisely. And because that system has worked very well.
And therefore, the Election Commission has taken an unwise step. They're trying to change a system that has worked very well when there was no reason to do so.
Well, wise people can also make mistakes. So I
I'll take that. I'll take that as an answer. Wise people can also make mistakes. The inference is clear. The Election Commission is composed of wise people who have made a mistake.
Karan, the point again, for better understanding and appreciation of the procedure that has been effective and efficient for the last 7 decades. In 1950, when the first elections were to be announced, we had the first electoral roll prepared. And there, that time also the question of citizenship was probably more difficult than what it is now. But you had a method followed by the Election Commission, which had all the independence and autonomy to devise its own credible system by which they enrolled almost 18 crore voters. And since then, this number from 18 has now gone up to 99. And India genuinely takes pride in the fact that
what's the point you're making? Are you saying that in 1950, in difficult circumstances, we didn't stumble over the citizenship issue, yet in 2025, almost 75 years later, we are stumbling?
I am only trying to reaffirm my point that the procedure that has been followed so far was a good procedure. It worked well. It was effective. People were satisfied. It was very inclusive. You got 99 crore people included.
And there was no need to change it. And there was no need to change it.
You could claim two things.
But now answer my question, sir. We know the system that's worked for 75 years was, as you described it, workable, practical. It was achieving good results. Are you also saying there was no need to change it?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Let me then put to you one of the consequences of trying to change it. I'm quoting from the Hindu of the 14th of July. The Hindu claims the Election Commission has found a large number of people from Nepal, Bangladesh, and Myanmar during the special intensive revision. My question is simple. How does the Commission know they're Bengali, Bangladeshi, and Myanmarese? Did they say so? Or did the Commission discover on them documents that prove it? Or has the Commission jumped to that conclusion?
But I don't know whether they have said this in their order.
Well, this was printed by several papers, including the Hindu. And it's been repeated for many days thereafter that the Election Commission has found a large number of people who are Nepali, Bangladeshi, and Myanmarese.
No, finding that is different from saying that. Because that, as I said, the provision...
Hang on a second. How do you find that they are Bengali, Bangladeshi, Nepalese? They are not going to admit to it. And the Commission is unlikely to find documents on their position that prove it. So clearly, if the Commission is claiming this, it's jumped to that conclusion.
No, I don't know the basis of the media reports saying that Commission has claimed it. To the best of my understanding and knowledge, they have not said so in any of their official release.
Unfortunately, they haven't denied media reports, which, as I said, were published by the Hindu on the 14th, and they've appeared in several other newspapers subsequently. If this was not true, it was incumbent on the Commission to deny it. But the silence from the commission suggests it is true.
Yeah, well, that's your conclusion. I don't agree with that. But the point, if you want to delve into this, the point I would make is that under the existing procedure, which has existed for a long time, there is a provision to delete or refer the doubtful citizenship cases to the Ministry of Home Affairs.
Absolutely. But
Right?
the election commission can't start telling newspapers that these people are Nepali, Bangladeshi, and Myanmaris because it doesn't know. It's jumping to that conclusion. These people won't admit it themselves. They're unlikely to carry documents which the commission has stumbled upon, which proves that they are. Therefore, for the commission to be telling the press that they're Nepali, Bangladeshi, and Myanmaris is completely out of order.
But I don't even know whether they've said it.
Well, it's been in all the papers, and I said the commission hasn't denied it. Let's move to another point. Let's come to the second big issue, which is to do with the timing of the special intensive revision. Is it proper that it should be conducted just 4 months before elections are due? In 2003, when the last special intensive revision happened in Bihar, it was held 2 years before the assembly elections, not 4 months.
Clearly, I think the issue of timing has come up before the Supreme Court also. And according to my assessment, the time is too short to carry out this massive exercise. Because in any exercise of this kind, which involves about 8 crore people, and what we are telling them is that from this day, your name disappears from the electoral roll. It will reappear only if you submit the enumeration form. So that is the first condition, which means how can you make sure that all the people who are already on your roll, they have adequate time, opportunity to resubmit this form. That is one. And if for whatever reason somebody is unable to do that, and he has exercised his right for all these years, whether before 2003 or after 2003, but the sheer inability to submit the form will amount to your losing your right to vote.
So,
That's
do you agree that it was wrong to hold an SIR just 4 months before the Bihar elections?
I
If they
think
needed to hold it,
unfair.
they should have done it a year or two in advance.
It is unfair. It is unfair to the people. I think it is even unfair to the machinery which is being asked to undertake this task.
What about a second issue? The special intensive revision has to be completed in just 1 month, although documents can be presented over another month. Given that it affects nearly 8 crore people, a sizable section of whom are poor and marginalized, probably will have difficulty finding these documents if they can find them at all. Can it really be done in such a short period? 1 month extended by 1 month, that's 2 months in all.
So there are a number of issues, Karan. We are talking about the procedural difficulties, but the fundamental point is that can you take away the right of people to vote because they do not subscribe to a new procedure which you have just invented? So that is the fundamental point. The other point is that in the past, an operation of this kind would mean that the machinery goes to the people and then they fill up the details. That is how all revisions, all operations of this kind have been done. We have an inclusive process. The machinery undertakes the responsibility to include everybody's name. Now you're putting the onus on the people, right? So that clearly puts them at a disadvantage. The second point is that the order of the Election Commission of 24th June, it has a mention that all the enumeration forms duly filled. So I don't know whether duly filled means accompanied by documents. But anyway, now probably the clarification is that
Well, you
the
give the documents up to 30th August.
so the instructions in 24 June order say that the BLO has to recommend these forms. Now, does recommendation mean only positive recommendation, or he can even say that this form need not be included? So that is one gray area. But suppose all forms received by the deadline of 25th July are included in the draft roll. Will the people who have not given the documents still be required to submit the documents? If they do, because in the absence of those
Oh,
documents,
but yes, they do. They do. Let me just correct you. It has been,
no, no,
it's been
no, I'm not
clarified
saying.
by the election officer in Bihar that you can file your documents up to the 25th of July, but the form can be filed till the 25th of July. The documents can be uploaded later up till the 30th of August. So there will be many people uploading just the enumeration form without documents, hoping that they can provide the documents later. The problem will occur if they can't.
Yeah, so that actually means that there is a hurdle that has been created. If the election
So this
commission,
is a mess. I don't want to get stuck in details because that will confuse the audience, but you've enumerated so many concerns about trying to do this in a short 2 month period that you're suggesting this is a messy process. It cannot be handled easily or practically.
so if you had more time, you could discuss this with the government machinery, which is supposed to undertake this exercise. You could consult the political parties. You could have internal deliberations to see that the time is adequate for you to resolve problems as they come,
But you don't have more time.
unfortunately.
And therefore, this time limit is too short.
It is, it is. I mean,
Okay. Let's then come to details. People born before July 1987 are required to provide proof of birth. The truth is, many simply won't have birth certificates. Many were born at home. In fact, even as recently as 2007, and let me remind you that people born in 2007 will be turning 18 in 2025. 75% of births in 2007 in Bihar were not registered, which means the preponderant majority of people coming up to be enrolled in these things will not have birth certificates to show. And yet it's a critical requirement.
you're right. I mean, I'm not even getting into all these details. Even if everybody had all the documents, the question is whether this procedure was required or not. How can you say that people who have voted for 5 elections, general elections, or who might have voted even more than once in any election, the fact that you had given him an epic earlier, and now you're saying that you have to produce documents at the risk of losing your vote? So the point is this fair to that person?
And you're saying it's not.
It's not. It's clearly not fair. Because what is the ground on which you are putting the onus of providing proof on me? And mind you, there is a very important sentence written in the order of 24th June. It says that all the voters, all the electors who were registered after 2003 have been done with full satisfaction of the ERO, according to the Section 23 of Representation of People Act. Now they want those documents to upload in the system to introduce transparency. So if that is a requirement of the system, it should not be at the cost of the citizen. If you have admitted me in your electoral roll once, unless you have reasons to believe that I committed a fraud, or there is some evidence to doubt my eligibility, then you can put me on notice.
You're making a very important point. I just want to clarify I've understood it correctly. You're saying for those people who were enrolled after 2003, if the Election Commission has now decided they need additional documents, request them, but don't threaten to strike them off the rolls if they can't produce them. You have a right to request additional documents if you feel there is a need for them, but the threat to strike them off the rolls if they can't produce them is wrong.
Exactly. So if the system feels that we need to modernize because we have some technological facility now available, because of which we can create a robust system after which people will not be put to any difficulty. So of course, you have a right to request people that we are upgrading our system. Can you please collaborate or cooperate with
But
us?
not at the threat of striking them off the rolls.
Absolutely not. Because, Karan, let me also make another point, which I have been repeating. Those who were registered before 2003 and after 2003, they have been registered by following the same procedure.
Quite right. And this is why you said earlier something that I'm repeating now. You said, can you take away the fundamental right to vote by a machinery that you've just invented? And your answer was, no, you can't, it's unfair. And you're making that point again. This procedure may have been necessary to acquire documents to make the rolls more robust. But to do so by threatening to strike people off the rolls if they can't provide those documents is unfair and wrong. You're nodding your head. You're saying yes a third time, aren't you?
Yeah, I've been saying that this is not fair to the people.
Let's then move on. The Supreme Court has suggested exactly a week ago that in addition to the 11 documents specified by the Commission should also accept Aadhaar cards, voter cards, and ration cards. A whole week has gone by and the Commission hasn't responded to the Supreme Court suggestion. On this critical issue, there's been nothing but silence from the Election Commission. Isn't this remiss of the Commission? Surely they should have made their answer known by now because it's critical to the people who need to get enrolled or who might get struck off.
Uh, I thought they had time until 21st of July to file their reply before the Supreme Court. And Supreme Court, in fact, has given liberty to the Commission to even disagree with this suggestion.
But they've done nothing so far, neither agree nor disagree.
So I don't think we need to get into
But time is not on the Election Commission side.
the fact that they have allowed people to give documents during the phase of claims and objections. And if they do agree for new documents to be introduced, then people will have that time. But
If they do agree, mark your words, Mr. Lavasa, if they do agree, as yet we don't know whether they will or won't.
absolutely, we don't know whether they'll agree
Isn't
or
it
not.
remiss, therefore? I mean, the Supreme Court has given a suggestion. Surely it's incumbent on the Election Commission to respond rather than stay silent.
No, but they have been given time to respond.
They've
So
been given time, but that doesn't mean that you need to fulfill every last second of the time given to you on a critical issue.
that's what people always do. When you're asked to file a reply by a certain date, nobody files a reply 10 days ahead.
All right.
That matter, nobody discloses her mind to the people. That this
Let's
is
come to another issue of deep concern. People born before July 87, sorry, I beg your pardon, people born after July 87 and up to December 2004 have to provide proof of birth of one parent, whilst those born after December 2004 have to provide details of both parents. Now, how many people in Bihar are likely to have these details? For instance, I can't provide proof of either of my parents' birth. I'm pretty sure the majority of people in Bihar can't either, and yet it's a requirement.
I think it was reported in the media that even during court hearing, some judges observed that they cannot provide these documents. So I think nobody is of the view that providing these documents is easy. It's very difficult. And I go back to the same question that if you have been satisfied once, then what is the reason for you to ask them again to provide a different set of document? That is number one. And the other thing is that the enrollment of electors is done according to the existing law, which is the Representation of People Act and the electoral registration rules. To the best of my knowledge, those rules have not been amended. This requirement is by an executive order. Election Commission might be authorized to issue this order. I'm not disputing that. But if the law provides for one set of eligibility criteria or it codifies one procedure, then for that procedure to be changed to the disadvantage of the people, I think it's a serious thing.
In fact, it's more than that. The Economic Times points out that it has not been the practice of the Election Commission to require parental proof. This is what the paper says. Even during Bihar's last intensive revision in 2003, no parental proof of birth was sought from electors. That was also the case when an intensive review was done in 2008 in Delhi. In fact, an official has told the paper, and I quote the official, this is likely the first time such proof has been mandated. So they've created a new system altogether this time round when there was no need for it.
Karan, it is very simple for the Election Commission to put the 2003 order in the public domain if they want to set this controversy at rest. If they have followed the same procedure last time, they will say that, yes, this is what we did last time. Don't question us.
But they haven't done that.
They haven't done that. So that adds to the problem and the debate.
That clearly suggests that the Economic Times is right. That this procedure wasn't the procedure followed in 2003. It's a departure, it's a new procedure. Because if the Economic Times was wrong, the Election Commission could have easily proved it by making public the order of 2003, and it hasn't done that.
The fact that it is a new procedure is well known because the criteria of citizenship which they have introduced was not there in the past.
Absolutely.
Nor for that matter, the distinction between two sets of electors, it did not exist in the past. And even in the post 2003 electors, we are aligning the requirement to the Citizenship Act, which again is something new for the Election Commission to do.
Hi, I'm Karan Thapar. Over the last few years, I hope you've been watching my program, The Interview on the Wire. During that period, I've interviewed doctors, politicians, businessmen, scientists, authors, and even the occasional Nobel laureate. For me, it's been exciting. I hope it's been enjoyable for you. But these, as you know, are tough times, and if this program is going to remain bold, independent, and sometimes even defiant, then I think we need your support. At the end of the day, it's a truism, but editorial independence is best defended by the viewers. So if you would like this program to remain the way it is, forthright, outspoken, and interesting, then would you consider supporting us? All you have to do is to click on the description at the bottom. But more than anything else, I hope you will continue to watch the interview. Your viewership means an awful lot to me.
Let's come to two other issues. The special intensive revision is happening when the monsoons will be at its height in Bihar. It also happens to be the Kharif sowing season. Doesn't that make this the most inappropriate time to hold this intensive revision?
You know, I am a little surprised because Election Commission always takes into account local conditions, natural factors in their planning. Even
They
when
haven't done that this time.
even when election schedules are announced, they keep in mind the fact that it could be a flood prone area, it could be snowbound, there could be local holidays, there could be local festival. All these factors are taken into account. So I'm a little surprised that why this fact that this area is flooded always did not come in their planning. It should have been. And that is the reason why, if they had given ample time to this exercise, probably the opposition may not have been so much.
Let me raise a second issue. What about the estimated 20% of Bihar's population who are believed to be migrant labor? They definitely won't be there when the special intensive revision happens. Now, the EC claims that it's opened an app for them. But how many rural laborers and how many construction workers will be able to use this app?
They will find it very difficult. I don't even know whether majority of them would be aware of such a facility. So, in any case, you see, these exercises, as I said, are conducted with so that there is greater participation. And if you allow enough time, then you can educate people. You can tell them exactly what the procedure are. You can tell them how you are facilitating people to come and participate in this exercise. But in the short time that is now given, particularly because the election is imminent, even if the elections were not imminent, and if this was being done in a short window, election commission could have said, okay, we'll give you more time later. So they have put themselves in such constraints that the choices are very, very limited for them.
Finally, Mr. Lavasa, let me ask you a question about the efficiency with which this exercise is being carried out. Yesterday's Hindu, the 16th, reports that in parts of Bihar, actually specifically in parts of Patna, enumeration forms are being handed out and collected by municipal sweepers. And when the Hindu questioned the booth level officer, a lady called Manju Devi, all she could say is, I do not know. That story certainly doesn't inspire one with confidence, does it?
So here is, I think, the bind that election commission must be finding itself in, that if they want to show that their operation has been conducted smoothly and very easily, then they need to show that maximum number of people have participated in this exercise and maximum number of forms have been received. What has gone behind those forms, it is very difficult for people to ascertain whether the two forms that were required to be given have been given, the quality of these forms, whether the
But forgive me, I don't mean to interrupt you, but the forms are being handed out according to the Hindu by municipal sweepers.
that's
Surely
precisely
they are not employees of the Election Commission.
that is precisely what I'm saying, that when you put yourself under such time pressure, aberrations and discrepancies of this kind will surface because everybody is under pressure to show that he or she has done what was expected. So the
But the
point,
time pressures the Election Commission is under are leading to these bizarre shortcuts whereby municipal sweepers are handing out forms.
Karan, I think my concern is even more different than this. Let us say that 100% all enumeration forms come back. Not a single form is left out. And now you're giving people time that during claims and objections, submit the documents. So what have you achieved in this last 1 month? You might have as well said that this is our electoral roll as of 24th June or the day you announced, and said now we expect all of you to give your documents. And this is the kind of document you have to give. So if you are able to achieve 100% enumeration forms received, uploaded, you are back to your own role, which you had, which you started from.
In which case, you've achieved nothing.
That is the point. That is what I am saying. That you probably are now under pressure to demonstrate that our procedure has gone on very efficiently and smoothly. And therefore, you want people to fill in. Now, that raises another question, that if your exercise, one of the purposes was to filter out ineligible people, then what have you achieved? Because everybody has come back.
But you're making a very important point. You're saying even if the forms are 100% returned, you're back to where you started, you will have achieved nothing. That's the point you're making.
That's right. That's what I'm saying.
So then to end the way, I want to put to you the impression that you're leaving behind for the audience over this interview that's extended 40 minutes. This process of a special intensive revision was unnecessary. Even if it's fully complied with, it's going to achieve nothing for you. You'll be back to where you started. But in the process, it's likely to be unfair to many voters. And you're raising demands about proving citizenship, which were never raised by the Election Commission earlier and are not part of its remit. It's therefore, I'm just summing it up, unnecessary, unwise, and unfair to voters.
Well, the way I look at it, Karan, is that this whole exercise, the purpose of this exercise, if it was purification of electoral rolls, nobody can question the purpose. But I think it was abrupt and it was aggressive and it was ambitious. And to the best of my understanding, I think at this point in time, it was avoidable.
It was?
Avoidable.
Okay, that's very clear. The special intensive revision is abrupt, aggressive, ambition, and avoidable.
At this point in time.
Absolutely, at this point of time. Avoidable being the critical adjective. I thank you, Mr. Lavasa, for the time you've given me. I'm deeply grateful. Take care. Stay safe.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Karan.
Hi, I'm Karan Thapar. Over the last few years, I hope you've been watching my program, The Interview on the Wire. During that period, I've interviewed doctors, politicians, businessmen, scientists, authors, and even the occasional Nobel laureate. For me, it's been exciting. I hope it's been enjoyable for you. But these, as you know, are tough times, and if this program is going to remain bold, independent, and sometimes even defiant, then I think we need your support. At the end of the day, it's a truism, but editorial independence is best defended by the viewers. So if you would like this program to remain the way it is, forthright, outspoken, and interesting, then would you consider supporting us? All you have to do is to click on the description at the bottom. But more than anything else, I hope you will continue to watch the interview. Your viewership means an awful lot to me.